Hey everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I'm going to show you how to paint an angel in the sky. I'm going to be working on a 16 by 20 canvas, but feel free to use whatever size canvas that you like. And I have the following brushes here: a 50 filbert, a 1 round brush, 4 filbert, and a 1-inch mop brush. I have titanium white, phthalo blue, dioxazine purple, and Mars black. I'm going to be using a spray bottle here to wet my canvas, and the smaller one with a finer misting tip on it to use this for blending and keeping my paints from drying out. So this will keep your palette wet a lot longer. So if you guys are ready to learn how to paint this, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the painting with my large filbert brush. I'm going to wet my canvas down. And I'm going to take a combination of purple, blue, and white to start. So I'll just spread the water over my canvas to get it evenly covered before I come in with my paint. Now once I add the paint, with this brush, I'm going to soften it with a mop brush. If this one gets too saturated, I may use another one, just so that I make sure I get a really nice soft background. So I'm going to go ahead and take my blue and my purple, now I'm going to make the edges of the canvas a little darker, so I'll be adding a little bit of black. But I'm going to start this first, so I get a nice purpley background. Now I'm going to come in with some white and mix a little bit of this in. This is going to give us a few different shades of blue and purple. And then just a little bit more purple here. I'm going to rinse that brush out. And before this dries, I'm going to take a dry and clean mop brush, and I'm just going to go around and blend out any harsh brush strokes or lines. Okay, so you can see it just makes it look really soft. And now I'm going to take a little bit more blue, purple, and a little bit of black, and I'm going to add a little bit to each corner, and then I'm going to soften in little circles, working my way around the edges here and into the blue and the purple. This way it gradiates from dark to lighter. I'm going to rinse these brushes out. Okay, I'm going to completely dry this off, and then we're going to come in with our number 4 filbert brush and start shaping in the wings and then her figure. Okay, so now that it's all dry, we're going to come in with our wings first and then add the figure, because the wings are behind her, so we want to build this up background to foreground. And I'm just going to take a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to start with a light purpley color. So mix up a little bit of the blue, a little bit of purple and white. Anything a little darker or a little bit lighter than this will be fine. So don't worry about color matching exactly the shade I'm using too much. Okay, so her head's going to be somewhere about here. We're going to go down a little bit right about here, and we're going to go on a slant like this, and then we're just going to start pulling in lightly with the tip of our brush. Pull, and then we're going to start to make them a little smaller and smaller, and they're going to start to go in closer and closer. And then we're going to change the direction, start turning it like this, the little feathers like this. Okay, I'm going to take some more paint and I'm going to lightly go over these to brighten them up. Do the same thing. And then start to change the direction right here. I'm going to take a little bit more paint. Now phthalo blue is really, really strong, like concentrated, so it might overpower your purple, so just use less of that. Okay, and then I'm going to come in and start adding some more. We're going to leave a little bit of a space before we start so we capture those shadows. We're just going to keep following the direction, and they're going to just naturally get tighter and tighter together. I'm going to add a little bit more white, and they're going to get shorter and shorter. Okay, then I'm going to take more white on the end of my brush. I'm going to come in and start adding some brighter highlights, and I still might have to add a little bit more once this dries because it'll probably dry a little bit darker. So then I will come back in and re-highlight. So I'm just going to keep going over and just adding a touch of white here. Load your brush up when you need to, which will be quite often. And I just want to have this come out a little bit wider. There, just a little bit sweepy like this. I just think this will look a little prettier, add a little bit of movement. Okay, now we're going to come on the other side, and same process, a little bit of blue, purple, and white to start. So we're going to go add a little scoop like this, bring it up and over and up like that. And then, so we've got that shape now, I'm going to start adding a little bit of white. Place your pinky on the dried canvas to help steady your hand. We're going to start, so it's kind of scooping on an angle, and then it's going to start to come this way. And then it's going to fan out. just going to grab a little bit of water in my brush. And start coming in with the next layers of feathers, and so on and so forth. And they're going to get tighter and tighter together. Take a little bit of white in there, mix up some more paint. Until they're just little dabs like this. And then we'll add some white and start to make them brighter. We'll start with these ones. Now you'll notice that this one looks much smaller than this one. That's because this one, the way she's turned a little bit, so that one appears smaller. And we can see this wing in its entirety. Going over again with some more white because I had a little bit of water in my brush, and that's going to affect the shade that it dries. It'll dry darker if you have water mixed in. So what painting on a darker background does, especially for feathers, is it really helps to make it look 3D, because you have the darker background and you're building up from that, so you have all those shadows and then little mid-tones. Just tap, tap, tap in here until we get right to the top. And then I'm going to take a little dab of white on the end of my brush, and I'm going to go over the top here. And start to pull in for some brighter highlights again. You can add another layer of feathers in between if you have enough room. Okay, I'm going to add some more shadows over here, but first we're going to dry this off, and then we're going to glaze over. I'm going to show you how you can just brush over, glaze over, and add a color to over top of a lighter white like this. Okay, so this portion is dry. This is the portion where we're going to have a shadow from her figure, her body here. So with a damp brush, I'm going to take some purple. There's a little bit of blue in there too. And I'm going to go under this brighter white outline. I'm going to take a little spritz of water, and we're just going to use that little bit of water to help work the little bit of paint out of our brush. Let's take a little bit more. Now the white underneath, we're still going to see those feathers. They're just going to look like they have a bit of a shadow. And I'm going to take a little bit more white Mix that into a little bit of the bluey purple, and I'm going to make this more gradual. Add a little bit more white. Okay, so it just looks a little bit more gradual now. And we're going to come in with her hair, and I'm just going to start with a little bit of kind of light bluey purple. As long as it's lighter than the background. And we're going to have her head right up here. Make it round. And then a little bit brighter on the top. We'll add a little part right about there because of how she's turned. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to sweep over, sweep and curl over. Take a little bit of white on the end of the brush, sweep, sweep. And I'm going to have some hair coming down here. I want it to look like her hair is just sort of flowing. Then I'm going to take a little bit of blue and purple, and I'm going to come under here. So this is darker, I don't have white with it, just blue and purple to make it really dark. And come right under here. Shadow her neck, shoulder, a little bit of a shadow there. Just add a little bit more of that purpley blue there to push her hair down just a little bit lower. I'm going to take some white, purple, we'll add her forehead here. And then her face on a slant. We'll come in with her features in a moment. We'll be able to fit a little bit more of her wing in here. We'll just kind of bring that down. I'm going to add a little bit of white to her forehead. We'll bring out her nose right about there. Cheek, a little bit of a side cheek there. Shoulder. And then her other shoulder is here. See her elbow, she's got a little bend right there, and we'll just add her hand down here. And we're just going to start to lightly this down out of our brush. There's hardly any paint in my brush. We have our other arm coming here. Let's take a little bit more paint. Gonna add just a little bit of water to my brush. Mix up some more bluey purple. Make this just a little bit darker so I can come in and shade. I'm going to add a little bit more feathers in here. A little bit of sweeping hair. A little bit more of the blue and purple. I'm going to start adding her dress. I'm going to start with some straps coming down. And I'll take a little bit of white. A little bit more water. Misting my palette to keep my paint from drying out. We'll scoop in here to make the dress come together. And what I want to do is create folds in the fabric. So you're just going to add lots of lines. And then I'm going to curve this way. Then straight down, and then again. Add a bunch that are really close together. And we're just going to keep building up from this. As I'm doing this, I'm going to add a little bit more white to her shoulder, down her arm, Just have a little indication of a thumb there. And then her hand, knuckles like this. A little bit of light here. I'm going to take a little bit of this off and take her whole hand off because I don't want it to be too long, and I can see that it was a little bit longer than this side, so I'll just carefully take that off. And down with her thumb, up, and then down with her hand, so that looks a little bit more uniform now. Add another highlight to her cheek here, bit of her chin, nose, forehead, top of her head. I'm going to add a little halo, just a flat oval. And I'm going to start coming in with more fabric, white on the fabric, come down about here. That's how you just build up and get those layers in the fabric. To look more 3D, you have all those midtones. Midtones are the in-betweens of the darkest shadows and the brightest brights. I want the dress to just kind of fade into the background. I'm gonna do a little wiggle. Just keep loading the end of your filbert brush. Just pop this shoulder out a little bit. Get that just a little bit a little bit bigger in proportion. Adding some more water, slightly thinning out the white. Pick a few of your highlighted folds in the fabric to make a little bit wider, make some of them a little thicker so they're not all the exact same width. Okay, we'll start working on her face pretty soon. I'm just going to take a little bit of blue and purple, and I'm going to come in and add low lights. So darker, a few areas that are going to have some extra contrast and shadowing. Applying it the same way as the white. Just less of it. And then we're going to have some here. So we want to have it come down, wrap under her arm, and then add those darker shadows. A little bit of a shadow on her cheekbone, under her jawline. And let's add a little bit more to her hair. And then I'm going to take some white and I'm going to just wiggle to give her some little waves in her hair. Just going to work out a little bit more of this dry brush. On the ends here. Again, just wanting it to fade away. I'm going to take my round brush here, some white, take a little bit less white, and add her nose, brighter highlight here, cheek again, bringing it down to the chin. Now I'm going to go over to this purpley color here and I'm gonna bring that over, kind of just shade in where her eye would be there. And I'm gonna add a brow. Just little, all we're doing is just adding little dabs at this point. I'm just shaping things in. Let me just bring her nose down a little bit. Those brows a little softer, add a little bit of light there. When you just add little bits at a time, be surprised how it just ends up coming together. Add a little bit more of this purple here. Make her face a little bit wider here. A little bit of this light purple, so just the purple on the white. And then I'm gonna add, starting the lips over more towards the left. And I'm just gonna, a gentle little scoop, like just the slightest touch of hand, so that she looks like she's smiling. She looks pleasant. And then I'll go in with my white. Add a little dab inside. Add just a little bit more light to her top of her head. I'm gonna add a few little dabs here for a bit of a glowing sparkle effect on her halo. I'm going to take some black with my purple and my blue. It's really dark. And just make that look a little bit deeper and more set back there. I'm going to rinse most of that paint out of my brush and just thin it out. Add a little line like that, so it looks like she's looking down. I'm just gonna mix up, I don't want any black in there. I want a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue. Let's clean that up a little bit more. So blue, white, and purple. And I'm just gonna take off a little bit of top of her head here. and then redab for the halo. Add a little bit more white on the ball of her nose, just there. Her cheek area, in between her lid and her brow, and her chin. I'm just going to have a look at everything and make sure that I have enough highlights. I'm going to add a little bit more highlights with this round brush on her fabric of her dress. You can even have the fabric kind of twisted over there. You don't want to bring the brightest highlight all the way to the darkest. We need those mid-tones, remember? The in-between the lightest and the darkest. Just trying to add a little hint of collarbone and her neck. Just add a little bit more light there. And a few little baby feathers here. And a little bit more of her hair. But you know, I want to use, I feel like I have a little bit more control painting hair with a small filbert brush. Just a little bit like that. And then just hints of the fabric gathering kind of down here. I'm just twisting and rolling my brush while I move around. A little bit more white in here. And a little bit more purple. Now, if you like angels and want to see more and perhaps paint some more, I've got a Christmas angel that I've done, and that will be in my portraits and figures playlist. And I've got more on Patreon. But I have lots to show you guys and teach you. I'm passionate about painting. It's brought me joy, healing, and it's brought that to so many others as well. So I want to share that and spread that with as many people as I can. Add a little bit more shadows in here, right in between the layers of the feathers. So just a little bit there. And as I finish this painting off, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all of your amazing support here and on Patreon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Feel free to join Patreon. I have so many more tutorials, exclusive content there. Just adding a little bit extra feathers in here, making her wing a little visible down there. And I'm gonna continue that under here as well, just a little hint of those feathers. And then add a little bit of purple and blue. With a bit more of a shadow in between those feathers. I hope this angel brings you comfort and many blessings. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in another video. Bye!